Welcome back, everyone, to the program. Now, here are some of your stories in brief. We begin with peace scholars. They have described Africa as the cradle of 21st century peacemaking in spite of its many crises. They say if the African traditional way of resolving conflicts is replicated globally, it would work wonders. They stated this at the second Distinguished Personality Lecture of the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies at the University of Ilorin. Also, the House of Representatives, they've approved a motion calling for an investigation into allegations of breaches to the Public Procurement Act 2007 by the Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading PLC. Now, the motion, which was sponsored by Honorable Musa Shoba, alleged that contrary to the provisions of the Procurement Act, the management of the agency executed power purchase agreements which resulted in losses to the federal government worth over 90 million naira. Well, let's turn our attention now to the National Assembly and get some updates. And this is following yesterday's plenary. What are lawmakers deliberating today? Our correspondent Linda Accuse is covering proceedings at the Red Chambers and gives us an idea on what to expect.
Lawmakers in the Senate are right now discussing the security situation in Zamfara State. Now, a federal legislator, Senator Kabiru Marafa, raised a point of order, drawing the attention of lawmakers again to the security situation in Zamfara State. This is not the first time Senator Marafa is bringing this issue on the floor of the Senate. He has brought the matter of insecurity in Zamfara State repeatedly on the floor of the Senate, calling on the lawmakers, the Senate, and indeed the House of Representatives to intervene, to call on the federal government, to call on the governor of the state to do more to protect the lives of the citizens, the indigenes of Zamfara State. Now, in response to the motion, the Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, also reiterated the call for state police in the country. He feels that state police would be an answer to the security challenges in the country. Senator Ekweremadu has been a major person calling for state police. He has done this over the last 2 years. He's even set up, he brought up a motion. He used to present a motion on state police and has done a series of hearings, public hearings on the matter. He's calling for state police, and he's also maintaining that what we are seeing, the response of the federal government and even the state government to the security challenges in Zamfara State are all short-term measures. He insists that we need longer-term measures to address the security challenges in Zamfara State. Lawmakers are still debating this motion in the Senate chamber.
So Zamfara security, lawmakers at the Senate looking at that. Well, over now to the Green Chambers. Lanre Lasisi is covering that, what the representatives are planning on their order plan for today.
Well, Millicent, it appears the House of Reps is continuing with the tradition of packing the order paper for each plenary day. And the paper I have here with me, the order paper, is full, to put it mildly. Let me just give you a rundown of what we have here. It appears there are 7 reports for presentation. There are 2 motions on the order paper and 18 reports to be considered in the committee of the whole. That will be later in the day. Now, I think one of the things that stands out very clearly here is the MTEF document, the medium-term expenditure framework document that has been slated for presentation this morning and also listed among the 18 reports that will be considered in the committee of the whole later in the day. And I think it means there's a possibility that this document will be passed, and that will also follow what happened yesterday. The Senate passed or approved the document yesterday, so there's a possibility that the House may follow in that trend and pass theirs today. But that is the outlook for this morning for the House of Representatives. Back to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Lanre Lasisi. But the story just breaking now has it that the Supreme Court, they have struck out an appeal filed by a former chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Kwara State for being incompetent. We hear it's a unanimous ruling of a 5-man panel of the Apex Court delivered by Justice Olukayode Ariwola. The court held that the transmissions of the appeal was done outside the 14 days envisaged by the rules of court. He adds that since the rules of court are meant to be obeyed, the appeal having defaulted is incompetent and should be dismissed. We have our correspondent Amaka Okafor covering this. Amaka, tell us the interpretation of this judgment.
The Apex Court struck out an appeal filed by a former chairman of the APC in Kwara State, Mr. Ishola Balogun Fulani, for not being competent. In a unanimous judgment delivered by a 5-man panel, Justice Olukayode Ariwola held that the appeal that was filed before the Apex Court was filed outside the 14 days envisaged by the rules of the Supreme Court. And since rules are meant to be obeyed, the appellant has faulted his appeal by not filing it within time. Mr. Ishola Balogun Fulani filed an appeal challenging the dissolution of his ESCO in Kwara State by the national chairman of the APC, Mr. Adams Oshomole. He is asking the Apex Court to hold that the action of the national chairman is illegal. However, he brought the case as a pre-election matter and urged the Apex Court to hear it as a matter of urgency because the 60 days required for a pre-election matter will end on Friday. However, in asking the Apex Court to reject the appeal, counsel to the national chairman of the APC, Mr. Akin Olujimi, contended that the case is not a pre-election matter. At best, it is a contention over the dissolution of a local faction of the APC in Kwara State. He also pointed out to the Apex Court that the case is also of no moment because it was filed outside of the time required by the Apex Court for cases of this nature to be filed before it. And after a 45-minute stand down, the Apex Court returned with a verdict. They agreed with Mr. Adams Oshomole and his team that the appeal is faulty and as such cannot be heard. And so the Apex Court did not even go into the substantive suit because the appeal was lacking in competence and was not filed in line with the rules of the Apex Court. So as it stands, anything that has to do with this particular issue has been rested because it wasn't filed as required by law.
Thank you, Amaka Okafor, there with that latest. However, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating activities of the National Pension Commission and alleged violations of the PenCom Act have accused the Commission of trying to frustrate its investigation. Chairman of the committee made this claim at the resumed hearing of the panel in the National Assembly. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, said that the meeting took a different turn as representative of the Pension Commission found it difficult to tell the number and tell the panel the number of accounts the Commission operates with the Central Bank of Nigeria. And that was an awkward moment. Well, that's it on the program today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. I'll see you soon.